we've had no help, zero, from NATO. We're there for them. They're not there for us.
Caroline Leavitt did an emergency press conference, and President Trump did an interview with Fox News. There's a lot to take a look at in this video, a lot of really good news and some stuff for the future that is, well, kind of uncertain and somewhat questionable, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. All I ask in return is for you guys to stick around for the full video, or as much of it as you possibly can, so you can understand the context of what's happening in the news today. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. Let's get right into it. The S&P 500 earlier today, now this is going up and down a little bit, but it did cross a new all-time high of $7,000 US. And then earlier in the morning, this post from President Trump said, China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We are working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? Question mark, question mark, question mark. But remember, we are very good at fighting if we have to, far better than anybody else. How can you see this type of news and not say, you know what, that Trump guy, he's a funny character? I mean, that's hilarious for a president, a sitting president, to be speaking like that about another world superpower like China. And they get along. That's the best part. She will probably actually give Trump a hug, or Trump will give Xi a hug. Then President Trump also said, will someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unharmed protesters in the last 2 months, and that for Iran to have a nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. America is back. So President Trump is being super duper serious about Iran and their nuclear capabilities. And then we got to take a look at this pretty funny Fox News clip here.
Has the president said anything about Swalwell? I don't know if he said anything. Has he been following that?
Why, has he had a bad week, Jesse? I haven't been watching.
He might be busy with bigger matters of war and peace.
Couldn't have happened to a better person. But look, here's the most important thing. If we have 10 seconds on this, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the most important part about this story, and look, Swalwell is a scumbag. He is a terrible person, the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low, the most dishonest of the most dishonest. But the real story here is how the Democrat Party controls its members through blackmail. It's got a blackmail file on all of its politicians, and it uses them to leverage and control them until it's time to release it. Wow. That is how sick and twisted the Democrat Party is. That's the next thread we've got to pull out here, Jeff.
I mean, we saw that in its truest form within the last couple of days, how people knew about Eric Swalwell, and they did absolutely nothing about it until there was more information that came out. Oh, he was my best friend. Yeah, I used to look after his kids. He used to look after mine, but I didn't know about all these allegations and stuff. No way. Not a good look, man. Not a good look.
This past Saturday, I published a video of now former Representative Eric Swalwell in bed. The president's heading to Las Vegas. Well, Eric Swalwell was in Las Vegas in this video. I'm told, according to geotagging, this scandal has erupted now. Accusers coming forward, many others coming forward, as well as questions regarding his extremely close relationship with Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. And I want to know if the administration had any comment on the fact that Senator Gallego seemed to be very vocal about wanting the release of the Epstein files, and yet when questions come to his own involvement with Eric Swalwell, he doesn't seem to want to provide anything.
Yeah, look, I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting. I think it's also quite plausible, as you point out, Jack, that there were many other Democrats in this town on Capitol Hill who knew about his perhaps illegal behavior, certainly his disgusting and inappropriate behavior, and why were they silent for so long? I think those are questions that must be raised of these sitting representatives, including Mr. Gallego, and I hope that the journalists in this room will do their jobs, and the journalists on Capitol Hill will do their jobs to ask Democrats in power how they knew about such despicable behavior from one of their elected representatives for so long, but never said or did anything about it. So that's what we hope to see as far as the White House and the president is concerned. Thank you.
We've had no help, zero, from NATO. We're there for them. They're not there for us. We spend, you saw the chart that came out a couple of days ago with a big monster red ball. That was us. And all these little satellite balls. And it represented the money spent on military and NATO. And it's ridiculous. And they should have been better. They should have said, we'll send somebody. It's a small operation compared to a big operation. But NATO was not there for us. And what it means, if they're not there for us here, they're not going to be there for us. So why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO if they're not going to be with us? If they're not going to be with us on Iran, they're not going to be with us on a much bigger subject than Iran.
I mean, that is a very good point. If NATO didn't show up, which they didn't, to help with the Strait of Trump, the Strait of America, or previously hopefully known as the Strait of Hormuz, what's going to happen when the next big thing happens? Because it eventually will, right? Maybe it happens while Trump is president. Maybe it happens further down the road, but this isn't like the last conflict to ever exist in the entire world. Even if there is something that wipes most of us out, there's still that last conflict that wipes most of us out. Hopefully not, but it is still something that is kind of possible at this point. I don't know. Check the Polymarket odds. What's Polymarket saying? So if NATO hasn't been that helpful with something as simple as Iran and the Strait of America, the Strait of Hormuz, what the hell's going to happen if China gets involved, if Russia gets involved, right? That's a very good point, and it's a little frightening. So should America be a part of NATO? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. I see a lot of people. The most amount of people say America shouldn't be a part of NATO.
Well, we just heard from the FBI recently that there was a major cyber attack attributed to China. What response is under consideration for that cyber attack?
We do it to them. They do it to us. We do it to them. You know.
Well, when was the last time we did a cyber attack in China?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that, but we do them. They do us.
That's a very interesting question, because we only see usually news when bad things happen that are towards us in the West, right? Like China attacked infrastructure in the States or in North America, or Russia is doing a cybersecurity attack. But we don't really get news updates that often unless you're like fully paying attention to all of this stuff. We don't really get all these updates of when America does those attacks in other parts of the world, right? And America has a super secret weapon, Palantir. I wouldn't like to be on the receiving end of Palantir. Nobody would. Not a single person would. So can China outplay the United States in cybersecurity, cyber attacks and stuff like that? I don't know, man. One thing's for certain, don't bet against the United States.
It's been like that for a long time.
So it's not going to be addressed?
I'll address things, but you know, it is what it is. Look, China's China. They're never easy, but we're doing great with China. I'm the toughest person in China anywhere in the world.
First of all, there was an interview that Dr. Mehmet Oz did recently where he described the president's views on his own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. And if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed, and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think
Trump
the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
McDonald's.
Do you expect the Republicans to lose seats in the House, and what does that mean for your agenda?
Well, I just left with Mike Johnson and some great people, some great congressmen and women, and in the Oval Office. I think we're going to do good. Now, with that being said, when somebody gets elected president, that party always loses the midterms. I don't know why. I don't know why. Nobody could explain it. I asked people that are deep into the psychological world, I said, why is it that a voter votes for the opposite party? It's even when you have a good president. I think I had the greatest year, the greatest opening year I've read. The greatest, look, I ended 8 wars. A 9th is coming. But I ended 8 wars. Nobody's ever ended 1 war. Who's ended 1? Nobody. I ended 8. We have the biggest tax cuts ever. We have the biggest regulation cuts ever. The greatest economy ever. pretty much including the fact that I took a detour into Iran in order to stop something that could have destroyed the world, right? But even when you have a great president, they tend to lose the midterms. It doesn't make sense to me, so we're going to try turning it around. You know, in 50 years, I guess the president, the party with the president, has won twice. Why that happens, I don't know. We are really working hard to turn that around. We've had the greatest year in the history of the presidency, first year, and we should be giving credit. Look at the border. So we had a border that was an open civ. You covered it better than anybody.
So is that the message for voters going into the midterm elections? The border.
Yeah, I should get credit.
Leave them for?
Yeah, I think we should. Well, I think we have to bring it back to talk. We don't need help on the border. But, you know, I built over 1,000 miles of wall. We have to talk about it because we should be given credit for having taken this disaster.
And you know that the radical left is going to do everything in their power to not give credit to President Trump. And it just kind of breaks my heart, man, because President Trump deserves credit for all of his accomplishments. But the media, radical left, you know, bad actors, they're all trying to sabotage what he's doing, trying to prevent him from continually doing new things, but also trying to ruin his reputation.
Where people were criminals were coming in from all over the world and pouring into our country. The worst thing, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. It was like an invasion, and we should be giving Maria credit for it. So I'm going to be talking about it, but I'm also going to be talking about we gave the voters the biggest tax cut in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history, the best economy in history. And now what we're doing is we took this path, we knocked the hell out of Iran, we stopped them from having, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, regardless. By the way, I could leave tomorrow, they would never be able to have a nuclear weapon. For years, they would, because their country is devastated. They don't have a Navy, they don't have an Air Force, they don't have an airplane. They're all gone. And the press doesn't write about it. The New York Times, you think, if you read the New York Times, this fake, horrible newspaper, you would think they're doing well in the war. They have nothing left. They're going to make a deal. We'll see what happens. We have to explain to the voters, so importantly, the great job that we've done, because there's no reason why the Republicans should be losing. These people, they'll open up the borders again. They'll have transgender for everybody. They'll have men and women sports. They'll end no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors. They'll end it all. And if people hear that, I don't see how we lose.
I mean, we already saw what the radical left can do with the United States with untouched power, right? I mean, look at what Joe Biden did. Pretty near ruined the United States.
I'm not playing. I have to find out.
And he said he's not leaving if, you know.
Well, then I'll have to fire him, okay? If he's not leaving on time, I've held back firing him. I've wanted to fire him, but I hate to be controversial, you know? I want to be uncontroversial, but
and you think Kevin Warsh can get confirmed? You think Tom Tillis is going to give you a vote?
Well, we're going to have to find out. He might not, but that's why Tom Tillis is no longer a senator.
Okay. On the AI,
you know, Tom Tillis is no longer a senator, right?
Well, he's on his way out.
Well, no, he quit, but he quit. And I think he doesn't want the legacy of stopping a person who could be great. I think Kevin Warsh is going to be great. He doesn't want the legacy of having an incompetent guy stay there.
We'll see, man. We'll see. President Trump is making some moves. We'll see what he can do. There's not a lot of time between now and the midterms, so hopefully it does work in his favor.
Do we still have the same relationship with Italy right now and Giorgia Meloni?
No. She's been negative. Anybody that turned us down for helping with this Iran situation, we do not have the same relationship. Just so you know, Italy gets a lot of oil from the Strait. You can call it the Strait of Hormuz or the Hormuz Strait. I said, which is better? They said, either is okay, but you can call it either one. The only thing you can't call it is the Trump Strait. They don't like that idea.
Dude, there's a freaking part of me Oh, it might sound crazy to people. I don't know. It might sound absolutely crazy, but I would be okay with them renaming it to the Strait of Trump or the Strait of America. I don't care at this point. Who cares about the Strait of Hormuz? Just rename it the way you renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I mean, why not? It's funny. It gives us a laugh, right? I don't know who the hell agrees with me, but I'm perfectly okay with it.
You know, this year we celebrate America's 250th birthday. In honor of this historic occasion, President Trump and the Department of Interior will submit plans for the United States Triumphal Arch, which will be an architectural masterpiece to celebrate our history right here in Washington, D.C. This is a rendering of the arc for you. Thank you, Peter. It's quite beautiful, as you can see, and this monumental arc will beam at 250 feet tall in honor of 250 years and stand on ground that is currently empty green space in Memorial Circle on Columbia Island, a man-made island in the Potomac River managed by the National Park Service. The United States Triumphal Arch will be outfitted with beautiful artwork and depictions celebrating the success of the American people over our 250-year history and the enduring triumph of the American spirit. Long after everyone in this room is gone, our children and grandchildren will remain inspired by this national monument. Beginning construction this year on the architectural arc is a fitting way to commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. Great nations build beautiful structures that cultivate national pride and love of country, and this triumphal arc should be a project that all Americans of all political persuasions can support because it's a monument for every American to celebrate 250 years of our nation's proud history. And again, the plans for this will be submitted tomorrow. And we'll have many more announcements with respect to our 250th anniversary in the coming months as we look forward to the 4th of July. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, it'd mean the world for me. I mean, you made it this far. You might as well hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.